absolutely destroyed the Fever tonight. Stephanie White, Lord only knows what she is doing exactly. What are you doing exactly? I looked around. I can't find where Chloe Bibby is hurt. Chloe Bibby literally comes into games. She knocks down big threes, and Stephanie White yanks her out. What is going on? Tonight, 0 minutes.
Nothing to calm anybody's concerns surrounding this team. The only thing Stephanie White has done is fail to take accountability for any role that she plays in the Indiana Fever's season this year. Except for the wins, of course. If we win, it's because Stephanie White. If we lose, it's because of the players.
Did Stephanie White secretly destroy the Indiana Fever before Caitlyn Clark could even save them? Tonight, we uncover the story no one else dares to touch. Betrayal, anger, tears, and a franchise hanging on by a single thread. Welcome to the scandal that could break women's basketball forever. It all begins with whispers, a team with one of the brightest futures in basketball. The Indiana Fever. They had the talent. They had the rising stars. They had the fan base hungry for redemption. But behind the locker room doors, behind the polished press conferences, something darker was brewing. Stephanie White. A coach with a history, a coach with a name, but also, according to some inside sources, a coach with a hidden agenda. At first, the cracks were small, questionable substitutions, strange rotations, a sudden benching of players who were heating up. Fans brushed it off as strategy, but Sophie Cunningham didn't. Boston didn't. And Caitlyn Clark, the crown jewel of the Fever's future, started noticing it too.
And be like, I got Caitlyn's back. I'll fight all you, B. I'm not gonna say it, but that's what she's, she takes Kung Fu or, she's a black belt in karate or something, and she ain't scared of none of these angry black queens. Hats off to Sophie Cunningham, love you. We needed more of that. And I felt, and that during the offseason, I was like, now I'm gonna shock you with this take. They should have never let Erica Wheeler go, and she's alphabet, but she had Caitlyn Clark's back.
Because you don't just accidentally crush a team's chemistry. Not this badly. And so the whispers began. Was Stephanie White really leading Indiana to victory? Or was she slowly, methodically tearing them down from the inside? One game, one night. The night Sophie couldn't take it anymore. The cameras didn't catch everything, but courtside witnesses did. Sophie, frustrated, visibly shaking her head at another one of White's bizarre play calls. Boston slamming her towel against the bench. And then, the boiling point. Timeout. Stephanie huddles the team. She talks, but Sophie doesn't nod. Sophie doesn't clap. Instead, she erupts. She points. She yells. Her voice echoes louder than the crowd. You're destroying us. You're destroying this team. Fans in the arena thought it was just emotion, just heat of the moment basketball fire. But those closer to the court swear Sophie's words weren't just frustration, they were accusations. Accusations that Stephanie White wasn't making mistakes. She was making choices. Choices that hurt the Fever, not helped them. That night, clips of Sophie's meltdown went viral. Social media exploded. Sophie just went off on her own coach. Hashtags trended. People wanted answers. But Stephanie stayed silent. And silence sometimes speaks louder than words. But Sophie wasn't alone. Aaliyah Boston, one of the most respected young voices on the roster, couldn't hold back anymore either. In post-game interviews, her words seemed calm on the surface. But listen closer, and they carried fire. We need direction. We need accountability. We need leadership that believes in us.
I think it was a physical game, I think there's a double standard in how people get their calls. I think Kelsey Mitchell, number one, is held or chucked on every freaking possession and never gets a call off the ball. I think Aaliyah Boston is the worst officiated post player in the league. She never gets a call. There's a double standard there.
But for us, really, I think it's got to be our focus. Like, we got to make sure that we're connected on that end, making sure that we're in the right places for passes, and just being more conscious of us having that ball.
focus in a game?
I think just really trying to be able to fight through that, I think is definitely hard sometimes, because I think, you're trying to make sure that you're doing.
Fans replayed that clip again and again. Was Boston calling out her own coach? Tension grew. The Fever locker room wasn't just divided. It was ready to explode. Because Boston wasn't just any player. She was the foundation, the rock. And if she didn't trust White anymore, who did? And then came the moves that made everyone question Stephanie White even more. Starters benched during crunch time, lineups that made no sense, plays that collapsed the second they began, and all the while Indiana kept losing. Not just losing, collapsing. Games slipping away, chemistry breaking down, fans booing from the stands. And through it all, one phrase kept echoing on social media. Is Stephanie White secretly destroying this team? People started digging. Old reports, old rumors, stories of player fallouts, tension with management, questionable locker room control. Suddenly, the idea didn't seem so crazy anymore. Because if you look closely, everything lined up. But then came Caitlyn Clark, the golden child, the franchise savior, the one player who could take the Fever from mediocrity to greatness. The question was, could she save them? Or had Stephanie White already destroyed too much? Fans said, no matter what, Clark will rise. But others whispered, not even Clark can survive a sabotaging coach. Clark herself stayed professional, kept her head down. But those who watched closely saw it. The frustration in her eyes when White made yet another strange substitution. The forced smile in post-game interviews. The moments on the bench where she sat, shoulders slumped, staring at the floor. It was as if she knew, as if she realized. She wasn't just fighting opponents on the court. She was fighting something far darker, within her own team. And then, the breaking point. Reports leaked, rumors swirled. Stephanie White might face suspension. Internal investigations ongoing.
Right?
As successful as we can be.
This lady's a joke, man. She's so full of it. She's so full of herself and full of it, man.
And so we got a little tunnel vision there, and that's where I say that we did some uncharacteristic things.
Oh no, I don't think it was anything uncharacteristic. I don't think it was anything.
Fever players frustrated beyond repair. The WNBA tried to keep it quiet, but by then it was too late. The fans had seen too much. The players had said too much. The cracks had turned into earthquakes. Sophie had gone off. Boston had spoken up. Clark's silence said more than words ever could. And now the league had no choice. Would Stephanie White be suspended, fined, or worse, exposed completely?